Because anthropology is the study of man, and we are primates, and our closest living relatives are, of course.
For many years, Dr. Mireya Mayor has been known as one of the most respected primatologists on television. She is a woman who left behind a comfortable lifestyle to chase wildlife through harsh jungles, thick swamps, and dense forests. On the show Expedition Bigfoot, she served as the scientific grounding force. While others focused on mystery and thrill, she collected samples, examined physical evidence, and tried to approach the unknown with real biology and disciplined research. Her role was to keep the investigation tethered to science. She carefully analyzed hair fibers, DNA traces, environmental disturbances, and behavioral patterns. But after 3 seasons of surprising and sometimes unsettling findings, she stepped away from the camera. She became silent. The public did not know why she left or what she had discovered. Now, without warning, she has returned. She brings new information, audio recordings, research notes, and a warning that suggests what is hiding in North America's forests is far more real and far more complex than most people ever imagined. Before television, before cameras and expedition crews, Mireya's curiosity began at the edge of the wild. She grew up in southern Florida, the child of Cuban immigrant parents. Her home bordered the vast wetlands of the Everglades, where the boundary between human neighborhoods and untamed nature was thin. While other children spent time indoors or playing games, she spent countless hours wading through shallow waters, exploring canals, and studying small animals. She collected frogs, lizards, dragonflies, and even spiders, not out of shock value, but out of deep curiosity. Her mother often joked that Mireya brought home more insects than groceries. Teachers noticed something special in her. She did not just memorize facts. She wanted explanations. She wanted to know why the natural world behaved the way it did. She asked why birds changed their call patterns at dusk, why water snakes surfaced after storms, and why certain animals disappeared for days before returning in large numbers. She recognized patterns others overlooked. Mireya was active and graceful, even participating in dance. Yet, she would sprint across an open field the moment she heard an unfamiliar bird call. She carried notebooks long before it became part of her professional identity. On her 12th birthday, her parents gave her a small cassette recorder. That night, she recorded a sound coming from the mangroves, a deep, strange bellow that did not match any familiar animal. Her science teacher later told her it was simply an alligator. Mireya disagreed, but she kept her thoughts to herself. In her notebook, she wrote a sentence she would return to many years later. "This voice has shape." Her grandfather shared stories of creatures said to live deep in Cuban wilderness, beings that lived beyond human roads and settlement. Most children would have been frightened. Mireya took notes. She was growing into something rare, a scientist who listened to folklore not with belief, but with respect. As she grew older, her interest shifted toward primates. She saw behavioral links between monkeys and certain unexplained animal activities she had observed in Florida. She noticed how territorial primates use vocal mimicry, movement patterns, and environmental signs to communicate boundaries. At 15, during a volunteer trip in Panama, she experienced something that stayed with her. While documenting howler monkeys, she heard a deeper, layered call coming from far down the river. It was not echo, not distortion, and not any known animal. She recorded time, direction, pitch, and duration. Her mentor dismissed it, but she felt differently. Years later, when she reviewed that old notebook, she realized she had captured the earliest evidence of something unknown, a communication event, not just a sound. In 2001, early in her scientific career, Mireya joined a primatology research team in the Congo Basin. The purpose was straightforward: document gorilla group behavior. But the rainforest had its own quiet warnings. Every few nights, entire gorilla groups moved out of prime feeding territory. They moved quickly, without traces of predators, disease, or environmental disruption. Local trackers spoke of something they called Mok, the one who watches from the trees. They did not describe it as a monster, but as a presence, a pressure, something that altered the rhythm of the forest. Mireya did not laugh or dismiss their words. She observed carefully. One night, while recording nocturnal calls, she captured a vocalization that shook the ground beneath her. The sound was low, controlled, deliberate. Her recording equipment vibrated. No known animal matched the frequency pattern. The next day, she found disturbed vegetation, twisted branches, and a large muddy footprint with no visible claw shape. A nearby buffalo had been killed with blunt force trauma. Not fangs or tearing. She documented everything carefully. Yet when she tried to transfer the audio files, they corrupted. Only the sections containing the unusual vocalization. She wrote a line in her journal that became deeply meaningful later. We recorded the reactions, not the source. Years passed. Her work grew. Her reputation grew. When Expedition Bigfoot producers approached her, she was reluctant. Television could distort science. One misleading edit could damage years of professional credibility. But their approach was different. They wanted her real expertise. They wanted DNA sampling, genuine field science, data analysis. They offered access to remote wilderness, normally restricted by permits and red tape. That access was valuable. On the show, Mireya noticed biological patterns that did not match familiar wildlife movement. Elk herds migrated early. Bears avoided valleys with no predators present. Tree breaks occurred at heights beyond the reach of local animals, and with twisting force, not breakage from storms or accidents. Witnesses described consistent physical features: shoulder sway, midfoot step pressure, upright posture, and careful avoidance behavior. These were not campfire exaggerations. They were hallmarks of a cautious, intelligent primate. Mireya collected physical samples quietly and systematically. The chain of custody was strict. Some samples came back inconclusive, but a few returned with mitochondrial DNA, suggesting primate ancestry unlike anything in known databases. One lab technician initially expressed excitement at the discovery, then abruptly messaged her to disregard his previous comments. Days later, that lab stopped accepting her sample submissions entirely. Something, or someone, had intervened. It was not coincidence, it was pressure. In television production meetings, footage that supported biological evidence began to disappear. Audio spectrograms were cut. Thermal imaging analysis shortened. The public saw mystery. Mireya saw a pattern emerging. During a late-season investigation in the Appalachian region, she discovered blood on a recently snapped branch. The branch height eliminated deer or bear activity. Under analysis, the blood revealed a combination of dietary and structural traits seen in both herbivores and omnivores, but not matching any known North American species. When she sought deeper lab sequencing, the technician warned her that the sample could trigger federal review. The next day, that technician's contact details disappeared from the system. The episode containing the blood discovery later aired without mentioning the sample at all. In her journal, she wrote, "Blood is honest. Edits aren't." After compiling years of sightings and environmental data, Mireya discovered a larger pattern. Reports of large upright primates in the Pacific Northwest had decreased. Activity increased instead across the Rocky Mountain ranges and into Appalachian forests. This suggested migration, movement along ancient ecological pathways once used by megafauna. Migration is not fear, it is adaptation. Something in the northern forests had changed. Something large enough or threatening enough to push a cautious species south. Eyewitness reports began to include injuries, creatures limping with matted fur, swollen joints, or visible wounds. A shy species does not leave its territory unless something else forces it out. Mireya noted that predators do not cause gradual migration. They cause panic movements. This was not panic. This was strategic retreat. She presented this theory discreetly to other wildlife biologists. Some brushed it off to protect their careers, others went silent. One asked, if they are leaving the north, what replaced them up there? That question stayed with her. Months after stepping back from the show, Mireya received an unmarked envelope containing a sterile swab and GPS coordinates from deep in the Pacific Northwest. She quietly submitted the sample to a trusted lab. The genome came back with approximately 97% similarity to humans, close but distinct. Several gene clusters showed enhanced skeletal density, vocal resonance structures, and connective tissue durability. The results suggested an ancient divergence in the hominin family tree. When she tried to request follow-up sequencing, her access was revoked. The lab declared the sample classified. The technician warned her with only 2 words, "It's real." Soon after, she sensed that her office had been searched, not robbed, examined. A memo circulated quietly among university departments, advising faculty to avoid unverified zoonotic research. The timing was unmistakable. Someone was watching. Meanwhile, whispers of ranger disappearances emerged. Cases labeled accidents showed physical evidence inconsistent with falls or exposure. Some rangers reported rhythmic knocks echoing across valleys before vanishing. One had recorded his final words over radio. "It's walking upright." Searches found gear stacked neatly, like someone had placed it intentionally. Official reports were redacted heavily. Only one phrase appeared repeatedly. Vocal signatures inconsistent with known fauna. Mireya spoke privately with veteran rangers. One told her, voice shaking, that he had seen tall, upright figures watching from ridges. He said, "We don't manage the wildlife, we manage the panic." He retired shortly after. During a solo research trip in Kentucky's Red River Gorge, Mireya camped overnight. Around 2 a.m., the ground vibrated softly. Not footsteps, resonance, like low-frequency communication. A deep vocal call echoed across the ravine, layered, subsonic, controlled. Something circled her camp in complete silence, maintaining precise distance. At dawn, she found subtle territorial markers, twisted branches placed deliberately. Months later, during a private research summit, Mireya and a team of acousticians and wildlife experts concluded that environmental pressure and habitat shifts will likely force this species closer to populated regions within a decade. Not because the species wants contact, but because it may no longer have a choice. Something else may now occupy its former habitat. Mireya's conclusion is calm, direct, and unsettling. This species is not myth. It is real. And it is retreating, not hiding. She now believes we are not waiting to discover Bigfoot. We are waiting for Bigfoot to run out of places to retreat to. And when that moment comes, the encounter will not be legend. It will be biology. It will be history. It will be undeniable. The question is not if we will meet them. The question is what they have been running from.